We're downtown Chicago, Illinois National Guard Armory right now. We're mud stenciling for the NATO.
Just to protest the NATO against this illegal war and occupation. The people need to become aware of what's going on, and we need to stop this war by exposing it. And this is what we're trying to do right now, to show the public that there shouldn't be NATO, and NATO should be held accountable for the war crimes.
Mixing some topsoil with water to make it a workable medium and filling in these spots in our stencil here. This one says stop the deployment of traumatized troops. We're talking about soldiers and Marines, sailors, airmen that have military sexual trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries, things like that. And these folks are not getting the care that they need, the care that they deserve and were promised. They're being sent back overseas, and we're fighting for the right to heal and helping them fight for the right to heal.
When I first crossed the border into Iraq, I saw the little kids on the side of the road and I thought, these are the kids I'm here to liberate. These are the kids I'm here to help. Well, those kids were still on the side of the road 6 months later, and they were still on the side of the road 12 months later, and 13 months later, and 14 months later, and 15 months later, and on my last convoy out of Iraq.
My name's Aaron Hughes, and I served in the Illinois Army National Guard. I was deployed to Kuwait and Iraq for 15 months. I was a sergeant when I got home. When I got home from my deployment, I definitely didn't start speaking out, demonstrating. And for a long time, I thought, who am I to say anything about any of this? I'm just a stupid truck driver, stupid kid that went over there and came home. But then I began to realize that all these people that are making policies, and the media pundits, the generals, and the politicians are so far removed from the daily lives of soldiers and service members and veterans that I realized that that story just needed to be told. And it wasn't until I was working at a community art space that we curated a show called In War, At War. At that show, Vietnam veteran against the war came and spoke. He said, why aren't you a part of Iraq Veterans Against the War? And I said, I don't know. I guess I should be. Iraq Veterans Against the War is a national organization founded in 2004. It stands on 3 basic principles: of full withdrawal of all occupying forces out of Iraq and Afghanistan, reparations to the Iraq and Afghan people, and full VA benefits for all the returning service members. And in January of 2007, I went to the National March on the Capitol, and I marched with IVAW for the first time, and I met 22 other veterans there of the Iraq War that were all on the same page about what was going on. And it was just so inspiring to be in this space with all these brothers and sisters that just understood.
I was sent to war without proper planning, without proper training, without proper equipment, and for causes that have proved fraudulent.
My name is Greg Brocious, and I was a gunner on a convoy that looked for roadside bombs. When I went to the recruiter, he took out a videotape and popped it in, and it was of combat engineers. And he's like, this is what you could do in the military, and there's a bunch of people blowing stuff up. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to blow stuff up. Essentially, my job overseas as a gunner was to own the roads. I had to let the people there know that when I was on the street, that was my street, and what I say goes, and if not, I'll kill you. Before I deployed, there was a lot of talk about weapons of mass destruction.
The White House says it can prove that Saddam Hussein does have weapons of mass destruction.
Which soon turned into Saddam being an evil dictator when we didn't actually find any weapons of mass destruction, and Al-Qaeda being in Iraq.
What did Iraq have to do with what?
The attack on the World Trade Center.
Nothing.
I was like, oh yeah, okay, you know, this attack happened to us, and the people that committed that attack are in Afghanistan and Iraq. Sure, why not go fight them? And then it wasn't until I got home from being deployed and started looking at different types of media outlets, documentaries, and stuff like that, that I realized the hand that Dick Cheney had in everything, and his role with Halliburton, and all of the money that was being made from us being in Afghanistan and Iraq.
2/3 of Americans say it's not worth fighting.
So what have we done? What protection have we brought America?
President Bush has said Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. Richard Butler has said they do. The United Nations has said they do. The experts have said they do. Iraq says they don't. You can choose who you want to believe.
The main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. Turns out he didn't.
My name is Iris Feliciano. I was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps before I got out in 2010. It took me 4 years to figure out all of the issues that I had with the military. I wish it was just that I was pissed off, because then I could deal with that, whatever it was that pissed me off. I just joined to go to college. I didn't want to go to war, and that's why I'm angry, and this is BS. That's not the truth. A lot of those folks, they joined to defend our nation. They joined after 9/11. They joined and they were ready to go to war. When you come back and realize that it's all about politics for global influence and imperialism, that's not a worthy cause. Nobody's storming down my backyard that I need to gun them down. The people that come home angry, it's not just they're angry because they had to go to war. They're angry because they had to do those atrocious things for lies, for the politics, for the greed of a small elite group of global leaders.
My name is Alejandro Villatoro. I'm a Sergeant E5 in the U.S. Army Reserves. Been in it for almost 12 years. It took me about a year to finally accept the fact that what we did in Iraq was wrong. The amount of troops that we lost, I started asking, was it worth it? Was it worth the sacrifice? Innocent civilians that died. Was it worth it? Whose fault was it? On average, a soldier of my rank, I was earning about $30,000 a year. But a contractor who's doing exactly the same job could be earning between $90,000 to $120,000 a year. This all is coming out of the taxpayer money. There were also private security, construction workers that paid more, for the same job. We have to go kill people just to make money. Is that how we justify the war now? I'm not sure if I ever be completely the same again.
It's great to have NATO here. It's the largest NATO conference ever in the history of NATO. 60 countries, all here.
Currently here in Chicago, we're preparing for the NATO summit. And these generals that are tasked with building freedom and democracy are also tasked with the care of their service members. And the reality is that they have failed that task. And if they can't live up to their obligation to their service members, how are they going to live up to their orders and obligation to the Afghan people or to the people of this country and defend them in a proper way? The occupations don't result in democracies. What results in democracies are the Arab uprising, what happened in Egypt, the movements of Martin Luther King, the movements of Gandhi, these people's movements, not military movements.
That's why Iraq Veterans Against the War demands an immediate withdrawal and return of all our brothers and sisters from Afghanistan, so the Afghans can begin healing, and so we can begin healing.
Next time on Voice of Art.
Art gives people a voice to articulate their experiences in a way that they may not be able to or not know how to.
There's pictures of me sitting at a kitchen table, loading a 9mm handgun, and eventually placing it in my mouth.
The most important thing that we can do is begin to publicly acknowledge our revolt.